We are going to have the next game being loaded up right now. It is in the lobby. We are going to have another Zerg versus Zerg, and this time it is going to be Buffy versus Scary coming out of here from Optik. So I'm going to look at Scary's. I'm going to look at Scary's ladder record just to see if it's as scary as he makes it. He makes it sound. He is a rank 6 Master Zerg player with 138 wins and 122 losses. So pretty scary ladder, a pretty scary ladder profile. But Buffy has already demonstrated that he has some very, very good Zerg versus Zerg, so I don't think he'll be intimidated. But here we go. The countdown is finishing. We are getting into game number 3 between Optik and Property. It will be a Zerg versus Zerg on WCS Ohana.
And Ohana is one of those maps where a lot of Zerg end up getting that third base and roach wars like crazy. And spine crawlers everywhere. This is one of those maps where a lot of people are comfortable defending against Banelings. I know I'm most comfortable on maps like this, where it's just your ramp's really close, and you can just two buildings is all you need, and you block off. And it's extremely easy to defend because all your drones just go right back into your base, and the Banelings have to walk all the way around. On the flop side, though, is if you're going for that heavier roach count, your roaches have to go the longer distance.
It is definitely more. It is definitely a map that favors roach play a little bit more than the last map did. But we did forget to introduce our 2 players. We have our challenger coming up here in the top position. He is playing as the Blue Zerg. He is from Team Optik. Can he give his team that back their lead that they had established in the first game with his Zerg versus Zerg? He is Optik Scary.
And down here in the bottom right, we have our Coyote Slayer now, I guess you can call him.
Yeah.
We have Property Buffy.
Buffy the Coyote Slayer.
Very good map awareness too. He has so many overlords everywhere, which is a very, very good thing to see. Even though the Mutalisk took out a majority of the overlords, the fact that he was able to see everything that was going on, that's something that's indicative of high level play.
It's kind of an early scout for Scary, don't you think?
I think it's doing exactly what he meant it to do, is to prevent that early hatchery, because now he's going to plop down his and he's going to be ahead. He knows that as long as he can delay that initial hatchery, he should be okay. And Buffy, a little bit thrown off, not knowing what to do, he actually put down a gas and then canceled it. So he's thinking about what to do, and he's deciding to go with the spawning pool into the hatchery. So right now, Scary getting a little lead off that early drone harass.
Scary is intimidating his opponent with that drone. Would you agree with that one?
Yeah. It's a scary drone, dude. It's a very scary drone.
It's a very scary drone for a very scary Zerg player. We have almost the same openings we had from both players last time. I mean, obviously, Buffy did get that hatchery delayed a little bit, but it was a 15 pool versus a 15 hatch pool, I think. The pool is down a little bit sooner for Buffy, but Buffy doesn't really have any interest at this point in trying to pursue any sort of really early Zergling play. He is getting his queen out a little bit earlier than his opponent, though, and that's one of the advantages you do have going for that earlier pool build as a Zerg player.
Absolutely, and we just see pretty standard from both players. Here comes a light drone transfer from Scary. Oh, there goes the rest of them. Never mind, it's just even. But yeah, him getting up his hatchery first is going to help him a lot, actually, on this matchup, especially when you know that you prevented your opponent from doing what they wanted to do. He saw the drone come down, he knew what he wanted to do, and he prevented it. And, again, it messed with Buffy a little bit. He put down an extractor, canceled and stuff. So Buffy, not getting the exact build he wanted, but he's now, evening out and, feeling more comfortable, as you can tell.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of Zerg versus Zerg is just making your opponent uncomfortable. I mean, it's so easy to get uncomfortable in this matchup. And when you start to get uncomfortable, you start to make small mistakes. And like I've already said, Zerg versus Zerg is one of those matchups where if you make small mistakes, they can quickly steamroll or quickly snowball, that's the word, snowball into just a situation where you've made a couple small mistakes, but now you're so far behind your opponent. ZBZ is so unforgiving that way. So Scary is playing out the mind aspect of this matchup in a way that I don't always see Zergs played out, but I totally understand it, kind of knowing how aggravating this matchup can be at times.
Yeah, and he got a good insight on how Buffy plays. He knows he's going to go for that Infestor style, and possibly even the Ling style that he saw before. Scary has Overlord's placed, ready to scout whenever he gets his lair up and gets speed. He's now taking an additional gas, so he's getting ready to tech up, and because he got down the hatch first, he's able to. And even preparing defensively with Banelings.
Yeah, we already have a lair going down for Scary. No lair just yet for Buffy. Buffy's drone count is up to 33 now to match his opponents, but Scary was leading a little bit in drones just a second ago. As far as gas income goes, I think both players are actually even at this point. Yeah, we only have one extractor being harvested from both players, but 3 extractors are down for both players as well. I think a 4th extractor. Yeah, 4 extractors are already down for Scary. And you know what this is starting to look like a little bit? I think Scary might go into Mulus this time, just like Coyote did in the last game.
You know, Scary has no idea how many gases his opponent has. And meanwhile, you see that Buffy sees that he has his 2 natural ones. So he knows that, and he's even going to get the scouting on the other 2.
Yeah.
So Buffy knows exactly what's going on. He even saw the Roach Warren. So right now Buffy's in a great positioning. He's putting down a Roach Warren himself, getting +1 missiles instead of attacks. So he knows exactly what's going on. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a 3rd macro hatch go down for Buffy to expect the all-in from Scary.
I mean, we're already seeing a deviation in the way that these 2 are going to be building into the mid-game. We have earlier upgrades coming down for Buffy, but we have an earlier infestation pit coming down from Scary. Now, this is something I was talking to another one of our friends, Sonic, about recently in Zerg vs. Zerg. How do you feel about this? The earlier investment in upgrades or the earlier investment in infestors going into Roach Infestor Wars? What do you think you prefer, Ajax?
I definitely prefer the roaches. It's because you don't put any chance. You're almost completely, I know how many roaches I have, I know I have superior upgrade. I'm not going to put chances to, oh my god, my infestor's out of position, just got sniped by 2 roaches. That doesn't happen when you're just going for straight roaches.
On the other hand, though, like the presence of earlier infestors are going to make it so that in a straight-up battle, I think Scary will have a slight advantage over his opponent because of the fact that fungal growth is on the field. It allows Scary certain advantages in terms of positioning, because if you can catch your opponent's roaches with fungal growth, obviously he can't reposition them for a concave or something like that. But you're right. I mean, you are also counting on the fact that you have your infestors where you want them when you want them, and also to those all have like little question marks attached to them. And you're right that going for the upgrades is a little bit more of a straightforward, easier to understand, easier to execute style.
Yeah, and I think Buffy might have overextended with these roaches. Yeah, Scary's speed just kicked in, and there's Buffy's speed. I'm not going to lose any roaches. Kind of lucky there, but now, you know, Scary's moving out, and he's actually got 3 infestors with his army. No upgrades yet, but those 3 infestors, if good fungals land, he'll be able to just demolish Buffy's army. Buffy doesn't see, or he does see the infestors, but I'm not sure if he notices them yet. There you go. He just now notices them. Splitting up his army. Good fungal on all those roaches. Oh my god, if he gets another fungal. Oh, wow. I think Scary's going to take the game right here. The concave's too good for him. He has more roaches, but the reinforcement roaches. Oh, it's really hard. Out of your upgrades have just kicked in for Buffy. However, it's hard to tell right now. Roaches on roaches, guys.
You know, it's really, or the concave advantage here, I think, is a little bit better for Scary, and the fact that all those units are wounded for Buffy is also playing out a little bit into here, but the upgrades are starting to kick in a little bit, and it does look like with the quicker reinforcement time, Buffy might be able to hold this off. But something I want to talk about a little bit, if you're going to be going for this style, before I even get into that, it does look like these roaches will be able to catch these infestors as they're moving away. These slow slugs are not as fast as those roaches are when they are not on creep. So all of those infestors for Scary are actually going to go down, and Buffy only lost roaches and all of that. those 3 infestors that went down are worth so much money, are worth so much gas. Each one of those infestors is worth 6 roaches in terms of gas. So really good sniping of those infestors by Buffy, really giving himself the time that he needs to get his own infestors out, because now pathogen glands is finishing, but we're also going to have pathogen glands with +2/+2 in just a little while. So Buffy is really starting to pull himself ahead in the advantage just a little bit here.
Scary needs to put down spines. He's not going to hold an all-out assault from Buffy. Not with any roaches out, just because of superior upgrades. And not to mention the way that he's positioning himself, his base. He's creating chokes against himself. If Buffy engages this right, he'll get an insanely better concave. Falling back, which is the correct answer, good fungal. Catching a bunch of roaches, actually. That's definitely going to give him an advantage. If Buffy handled that a little bit differently, I think he would have came out ahead. But, Optik Scary, utilizing his opponent's not having infestors out and being able to clump up his units and taking
something else I wanted to kind of point out here a little bit. Buffy went for upgrades, and he's really investing heavily into roaches and the cost effectiveness of roaches, but he isn't researching burrow. You'd think that if you were going to go for like roaches, straight roaches versus roach infestor, you'd want burrow to regenerate all of those roaches back to full health. And in that last engagement, Buffy walked into that army with a lot of his roaches in the red or in the orange, and this is going to happen again too. All of those roaches for Scary, at least besides a couple of them, are still at full health, and every single roach for Buffy is pretty damaged at this point. Had he used burrow, the situation would be a little bit different. But look at that fungal from Buffy, catching all those roaches into position, allowing himself to take the superior concave, and the concave for Buffy is actually better than his opponents right now, as well as the upgrades. But there are some roaches firing in from the left position, closing the concave back to Buffy, and now Buffy needs to retreat.
But again, Buffy traded so much more effectively that engagement than Scary did. He's at 2-2. Scary's just about to finish 2-0. And this is when upgrades really matter. When you're up 2 armor on your opponent, you feel comfortable. You really do. And now adding in more infestors, he's definitely going to have an advantage over his opponent. But he's losing so many roaches right now. Oh wow, Scary catching a lot of roaches actually. Buffy not realizing until they're all dead already. And that one roach left alive, wondering why they're not taking his life.
That roach is the scariest roach, scaring all of Scary's roaches back to his main base. And you know what? Buffy is actually doubling down on this this upgrade advantage. Or no, excuse me, I'm totally wrong. Stop that, reverse it. I was about to say, I thought Buffy was the one that was mixing in Hydralisk, but it's actually Scary that's doing it, which would make more sense for Buffy to do because Buffy has +2 weapon attacks versus 0 armor, and Hydralisk obviously scale better with upgrades than roaches do, especially in the absence of armor upgrades for your opponent. So Scary is now actually up to 179 supply. He has Hydralisk mixed in, and he's going for Hive on top of it. And meanwhile, Buffy is still sticking to just straight Roach Infestor, but he does have those 2/2 upgrades.
I think it's beautiful, the fact that Scary's mixing in Hydras. You want to mix in Hydras when you know you have a superior Infestor count than your opponent. And he knows that. And he's spending all that gas, not to mention clearing up all the Overlords, making sure that his opponent doesn't have vision, but that fungal on all those roaches, oh my goodness. Doing so much damage right now. Scary's definitely getting the worst of this engagement, losing so many roaches so quickly. Oh man, Buffy's coming out so far ahead, and he's going to lose his entire army. Those Hydras can't take down roaches one-on-one just because of how much armor they have and how much HP. And oh man, Scary just lost so much supply there. And you can, but you can tell that he's just remaxing. He has a better economy right now with that 4th face-up.
Upgrades and positioning is greater than unit composition by the looks of things, but Scary is still up to 165 supply versus only 125 of Buffy, and we have 16 roaches in production for Scary and only 8 for Buffy, so he's going to have a higher roach count in just a little while, but Buffy does repel that attack. But those Hydralisks definitely paid for themselves, Ajax. If those Hydralisks weren't in that army and that was a straight roach engagement, that would have been incredibly one-sided for Buffy. He would have just absolutely massacred that army, but the presence of those Hydralisks, it allowed him to even up that engagement just enough so that we still have a game versus somebody having a GG out at this point. And now we have +3 weapon attacks coming up for Optik Scary because he did get that hive out sooner than his opponent.
And yeah, now the superior economy, Scary can just pressure. He doesn't have to worry anymore. The only thing he has to worry about is fungals, and that was a good fungal, 2 good fungals right there. However, with that... Oh my
gosh! Look at those Hydralisks, Ajax! This is what I was talking about against Hydralisks versus no armor upgrades. We saw the cost effectiveness of Hydralisks in the last engagement, but look at the flip when your opponent has no armor upgrades. These Hydralisks just absolutely massacred all of the roaches in Scary's army. So now we have a completely different supply situation than we had going into that engagement. We have 135 supply for Scary and 169 supply for Buffy, and Buffy has superior upgrades. I cannot stress this enough that at this point, he's got superior upgrades and the superior unit composition to his opponent. Scary is now like starting to remax a little bit, but he's going up against 30 additional supply, and this time Buffy brought Hydralisks. So it's a much better unit composition than what we were seeing before.
The only thing that's going against Buffy right now is that his roaches are hurt. If he had Burrow, he would be in a complete advantage right now. You know, Scary doesn't have... He has Bank right now. He has Minerals, which is why I'm wondering he's not dropping down any Spines. So, Spines would definitely help out so much in this scenario where you have to worry about engagements on multiple fronts. He's got 2 Spines at this 4th, but if he plopped down maybe 4 more, he'd be safe. At least safe enough to not have to worry about keeping his army going back and forth. But, you know, Buffy's just keeping in his base, and now he knows. Now he knows his opponent's scary. Because his opponent's been out on the map the entire game, and now he knows that he's just sitting back. Buffy does get a good scout on that entire army, and it looks like we're going to have a big engagement here.
The concave is still a little bit better for Scary, or for Buffy though, but he is starting to even it out just a little bit here, but the superior Hydralisk numbers on both sides are actually starting to push back, so all of the roaches are actually gone for both players right now. It is really just Hydralisk and Fester, but some of his roaches just a little bit to kind of cover his retreat. He's moving up the 4th base of Buffy, and now this is going to be a bad situation for Buffy because he's going to be in a bad position to actually engage his army, but it doesn't even look like it's going to matter. The hatchery for Buffy does go down, but now the superior position is actually Buffy's, who is trying to fight that army, but he doesn't have the roaches to actually tank all of that damage. So a lot of the fragile Hydralisks are going down, and it does look like Scary will come out on top on this engagement. His +3 weapon attacks are actually completely done, so now he has the upgrade advantage, at least in terms of offensive upgrades.
Yeah, I mean, he's just completely demolishing this. Those Hydralisks back are staying alive. Are we going to see some drones helping out in this engagement? We are, and that drone flank, that drone walk, actually helping out this engagement a lot. Going to lose a majority of those drones, but he is going to push back this army, which is going to delay Scary's advance.
But Scary did knock out that 4th base of Buffy's, and now not only is that a hit to Buffy's economy, who is only mining now from 1 base, it's also a hit to his production a little bit. But I think the hit to his economy is so much more important because we only have 180, 200 minerals now in the bank for Buffy. Meanwhile, Scary is up to 800 minerals and 700 gas in the bank. He has just a superior economy to his opponent. He is mining from 2 different bases right now because his natural is, of course, mined out. So his economy is just so much better than Buffy's right now, and I think that might actually be the determining factor in this. Buffy really, really needs a good engagement to come back into this.
You're absolutely right. And again, on this map, it is so hard to take that next base. After you get that 4th base, Your 5th base is on the opposite side of the map. And it is so easy just to counterattack with like 3 infestors, 4 roaches, and it would force units over there and your attention away. However, we do see a greater spire going down for Buffy, as well as the next engagement over at the fort.
I don't know if Buffy can actually afford to make that switch into Broodlords, though, Ajax. He doesn't have the economy. He can't secure this 4th base. The roach count for his opponent is just so high. His opponent's roach count is up to 45. He has 45 roaches and 7 infestors versus the 19 roaches, 9 hydralisks, and 6 infestors of Buffy. So the army count for our blue Zerg player is just so much higher. This engagement is going to happen down here at the bottom of the ramp of the natural expansion. It does look like the superior numbers for Scary are going to give him that advantage, and there are no more roaches actually out on the field. Infested Terrans are being dropped over everything. Those Infested Terrans have +3 weapon attacks. It does look like this will be the engagement that Scary actually needs to seal this game. This is going to do it. There is no way that Buffy can actually hold this attack off. He doesn't have the money. We should be seeing GG any moment. There it is, folks. GG. Buffy taps out. Optik Scary bringing the series back 2-2. Or is that no, that's actually just 2-1. So Optik Scary is now bringing his team back 2-1. So 3 straight Zerg versus Zergs, and they've all been very, very different.
Yeah, and you know, those infested Terrans mean all the difference. Once you get to a point where you know that you have superior numbers, but the upgrade difference is in their favor, you have to drop infested Terrans. Fungals no longer become useful. You got to hold them in position to make sure that they engage you. But if you can get down more infested Terrans, you can also prevent them from routing by blocking their path with the infested Terrans themselves. And with the +3, I mean, infested Terrans actually do really good damage.
They do more. They do more DPS than Marines do.
Yeah, and you know, you saw that right there. You saw them spawn. Not only did they take damage from the Hydras, they put out just as much. So you know, it's all about decision making, and I think Scary just had better decision making in that game.